Good evening. I'm Emily, the Jet Setting Fashionista, and I'm so excited to be joining you tonight and sharing a special visitor. I will be sharing wines with winemaker and proprietor Katy Wilson of LaRue Wines. And I want to thank you in advance for tuning in. Those of you that have joined in the past, I've done, 25 or 30 of these during, COVID sparked it, and now it's just really become something fun that I love to do. And I think I'm going to continue it even after COVID. So if you haven't seen all of the prior Instagram lives, please check out my Instagram TV channel, Jet Setting Fashionista, or else visit my YouTube channel and you'll find all of them there. So give me a moment. I am going to invite my guest, Katy Wilson, to tune in. Here she is. Okay. Oh, hi, Katy.
Hi.
You look so great. You're in blue. I'm in red.
Nice. It's a good match.
I feel like I think it's Valentine's Day the whole month. So I'm wearing red. Next week I'll wear pink. And I don't know.
Great.
I think it's really the little things these days that we look forward to, right?
Totally.
Sharing a glass. Well, a glass or three, really. I have all of the wines poured. I'm super excited for our lineup. Let me actually just pin a comment so everybody knows who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
There is a way to pin a comment at the top. There we go. So when people tune in the middle, they'll be able to see who you are.
Nice.
So Katy, first of all, I don't know, we should probably sip on a wine as we're talking, but I'd love to start, where did it all begin? And what are you sipping on? Sonoma Coast?
Yeah, so this is the 2018 Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. Yeah.
Okay.
The one.
I love your labels.
Thank you. Yeah, they're meant to look a little bit like leather, so it's kind of like a deboss, and yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have a great texture to them. Well, clearly that was intentional.
Yeah.
And it actually feels really nice and soft too. It's like a rich paper, or it's probably not even. What is it? Is it paper?
Yeah, it's paper. Yeah, but they make it look like a little bit like leather.
And I'm sure it cost a little bit more than paper, so it's good that you can tell that feel.
Totally.
Well, cheers. I'm gonna take a sip as we dive into your background. Yum. Oh, I am not spitting. Are you spitting?
Well, I am 5 months pregnant, so.
Oh, right. I forgot. So then you're spitting. Okay. I am not 5 months pregnant. I am not spitting these beautiful wines. I forgot about that. So guys, really exciting news. Katy and her husband are having a baby.
Yeah. Girl, due in June.
A girl?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm a June baby girl too.
Oh, nice. It's a good month.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to your childhood. Let's start from the beginning, Katy. Those that don't know, where are you from? How did you know you wanted to get into winemaking? Where did it all begin?
Yeah. So I grew up in the Central Valley of California. So I grew up in a town called Manteca. My parents have a small walnut orchard there. And they actually still live there, and it's about 15 acres of walnuts. So I grew up in farming, not in wine, but in farming. So I grew up driving tractors, planting trees, pruning. Walnuts actually have a very similar seasonality to wine grapes, or grapes in general. So I just grew up really interested in farming. And so when I graduated from high school, I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and I started with agricultural business as my major. I knew I wanted to work in agriculture in some way.
So some of this is ringing a bell because I actually interviewed Katy, I don't know, a year or two ago. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So those of you that, in case you miss all this or want to geek out and read her answers, they're on the blog. So once again, she's in the interview section, but cool. So you went to college. I can never say slow properly. Can you say the proper way?
San Luis Obispo. San Luis.
San Luis Obispo. I heard someone saying it wrong yesterday, and I'm like, I'd rather not say it than say it wrong.
And once you hear it wrong, you end up saying it wrong. Like that.
Yeah, that's why I just say slow, and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I can't say it the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you studied farming and business. Interesting. I studied business and fashion. Mutual there in the business, and then you graduated, and then where'd you go from there?
So I started doing a double major my freshman year there. So I actually have a degree in wine and viticulture as well as agricultural business.
Oh my gosh. Overachiever?
Yeah. I started working in the industry when I was 19. So I started the major when I was 18, pretty much right away. found the path that I really wanted to go down, which of winemaking. And to me, it's not just that, you know, when I was 18, it was like, oh, it's just alcohol, but
Right.
but
It's more than that.
yeah, it's a lot more than that. It's, you know, first and foremost, wine is farming, but there's also so much more to it. There's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of science, and then you're caring for the land and creating something that is unique every year.
Yeah.
To me, is just so interesting. You're never bored. There's always something to learn. So
the farming aspect is very, very hard. I'm studying WSET right now, and I'm trying to get into the weeds of the farming. And I mean, I didn't grow up on a farm like you. So I feel like if you know, grew up in like a suburb where vines aren't nearby, it's totally foreign to you. And there's a lot to learn. Today, I spent a few hours learning how to prune with Charlie Chenoweth at Bootleggers Hill. And I think I need to go back 10 more times. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of pruning, that kind of pruning. But it's one of those things. I mean, you probably need a few seasons to like get it and understand it. It's not like you hear it once and like, I wouldn't trust myself with pruners right now.
It's definitely, you want experienced people when you're out there pruning, because it definitely affects the vine for that year and sometimes can affect it for following years as well. So yeah, that's so cool that you're able to get out in the vineyards and learn like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna make a video assembling all of the wisdom I learned, because I think I'm gonna have to study the video. But yeah, so you started in 18. What was your first winemaking job?
So I first worked in a 1,000-acre vineyard in the Central Valley, doing all sorts of things, but basically definitely is very hard vineyard work, working 10 days a week, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
I know. I was like, wow.
So it was pretty tough. But after I finished that job, I knew that I still wanted to be in the industry, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
Worked at Eberly Winery in Paso Robles.
Oh my God, I met him. Isn't he called the godfather of Paso Robles?
Yeah,
Gary? Is it Gary?
Yes, yeah, he's one of the first people to plant Syrah. So
yeah, oh my God, Syrah. You and I were just talking about that today. I have a whole basket of Syrah behind me that I need to try from Sonoma and Central Coast. I need to try the Eberly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, get there.
Paso Robles was my first media trip I ever went on to write about wine country, so it has a very special place in my heart.
Such a good area and really great people. And Gary Eberly is like one of the nicest guys too.
Yeah. He sort of like has like a Santa Claus look to him, correct?
He is, yeah. At Christmas time, he used to let us go raid his cellar, and everybody got to choose one bottle of anything.
Oh, so he's truly Santa.
Yeah, he was Santa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started at Eberly, and then like what brought you to Sonoma? Because I mean, you have quite a pedigree, and those that don't know, I mean, LaRue is your brand,
yes,
but you also make wines for Annaba, who I'm obsessed with those wines. I'm going to be trying your Syrah very soon. Smith Story.
Mm-hmm.
You work with my pals at Reeve.
Yes.
And Bloodroot. And am I missing anything?
That's everything.
That's it.
Yeah.
So have you ever counted how many varietals a year are you collectively making? Or is that just a headache?
Varieties is 20.
That's
20
it?
Varieties, yeah. Yeah. I make a lot of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but I do make, Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so many things.
And then how would you describe the LaRue Pinot Noir style for people that haven't had it or maybe not, tasting it with us today? Because they can still buy it after the fact, which hopefully after they hear about it, they might be curious and want to pick up a few bottles. Yeah,
so LaRue is all very coastal fruit. So it is, all my vineyards are within 7 to 10 miles. They're all really heavily influenced by the fog and the ocean breeze we get in. And so they're very coastal, complex. I really try to capture the sense of place. And even our Sonoma coast that we're trying right now.
Yeah. Not
your average Sonoma coast in that it's a blend. On the back label, we have the percentages of the vineyards now.
Yeah.
With the 18 vintage. It's always been just a blend of our single vineyard wines, but it's a barrel selection. So it's only 3 different vineyards in this wine, and they're all coastal wines that I also make single vineyard wines from.
And the thing that's interesting is we're trying 2 of those 3 single vineyards. So it's Thorn Ridge, Rice-Spivak, and Emmeline, and we are tasting Thorn Ridge and Rice-Spivak on their own.
Yeah, and it's so cool to be able to make such a, like, the Sonoma Coast is very unique. It's a little bit more fruit forward than the Southern wines, and it's meant to drink a little younger, but it can age. And it's those wines that goes really well with a lot of different foods and just is
delicious.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is, for you, this is fruit forward. Isn't that interesting? Because like, you know, compared to like a Russian River, I don't want to say jam ball, but a fuller, bigger, jammier Russian River, to me, I wouldn't describe this as like super full body or forward.
Yeah, it's definitely more like austere fruit. It's not like big, dark red fruit or big, dark fruits. It's more of the just right fruits, but to me, it kind of pops out of the glass.
Yeah.
Like,
so let's talk about what we're smelling so those at home can sort of follow along. And I love making the winemaker do their tasting notes, because it's like, for once, I'm not sitting here doing my W set card. I mean, I'm tasting like, you know, cherry, a little bit of strawberry. I mean,
I do.
Subtle in the nose.
Strawberry in the nose, for sure.
Little rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not like, you know how sometimes like Sonoma Coast can be like way earthier and like barnyardy and dirty. It's not that. It's super elegant and refined.
And I like to make sure that my wines come across as pretty. So the fruit is very classic and pure. And really just trying to capture the vineyards themselves too. I think in the aroma you can get a hint of the oak notes too. Like they're not in your face, but they're there. For me, I like the oak to be uplifting the fruit, not overpowering it. So it kind of supports the wine.
And what kind of oak do you use?
So I use all French oak, and this wine is about 25% new. And I work with a few coopers in France. Cavon is one of my favorites. Ramon, a little bit of Francois Ferrer. So
yeah, I know. You just give me like a year or two, and then I'll start geeking out on cooperages. I'm not there yet, but I know winemakers love to, and you know a couple of the big names, and then you just nod your head and act like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's good if you're able to come taste in the cellar, because it's the best place to see the difference between the different barrels. They come across, even sometimes the exact same barrel from the same cooper tastes totally different, and because it's never the exact same, it's a natural of wood aged. But yeah, it's really a fun thing to geek out on. There's many things to geek out.
I mean, I like to talk about clones. So speaking of clones, what kind of clones are in this Sonoma Coast Pinot?
Yeah, so the from the Rice-Spivak vineyard, it is 115 and 667.
Okay.
And then from Emmeline Anne, it's 777 and 115. And from Thorn Ridge, it's Pomard and 115. So
you have a really great mix.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of, I think it really builds on the character of the wines too, like having different clones in different areas and really having more complexity. Yeah,
for sure. So what else do we want to tell people at home about the Sonoma Coast that we're tasting? And gosh, I've made a dent in it. It's quite lovely. So by the way, guys, if you want to buy these, the easiest way is to visit LaRueWines.com. And obviously, is it JSF? Yep, just JSF. And I think you get free shipping, which is always nice because shipping adds up. And yeah, trust me, anyone that likes beautiful Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir, these are going to be right up your alley. And I was trying to think, Katy, when we met, was it at like a Pinot Days like 4 or 5 years ago? It's been a while.
I think it might have even been like with Kelsey, our friend Kelsey, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because I feel like I knew you before I met Kelsey, but it's possible. I mean, Kelsey and I did meet over wine at the Battery, and I think we all realized we knew each other. But no, and I mean, I've even met your dad because he sometimes pours at events with you, right?
Yes, yeah. My dad does come with me to events and helps me pour and talk about the wines and about farming. But
it's adorable. And your husband works with you too, so it's truly a family business.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, he just started working full time with LaRue in November, so he's a full-time part of the team, focusing mostly on sales, but also helping out, getting in the cellar, learning about winemaking and stuff, which is really fun to do.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm wondering if we should move on to the second one. So Rice-Spivak is number 2, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I have mine
perfect. Well, your Corbin's working. Mine isn't. So I will be drinking beautiful Pinot Noir this weekend because there's no way I'm letting an ounce of this go to waste. So I have a funny Rice-Spivak story. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but the first time I had rice, because a couple other, you know, top producers also make a Rice-Spivak, and I tasted Rice-Spivak with our buddy Ross Cobb.
Yeah.
On a Friday afternoon. And the next night I was at the French Laundry for the first time. And I was like, well, what's your Pinot by the glass? Obviously I need it. And it was a Rice-Spivak Pinot. So when you and I were discussing the wines, I was like, we have to do a Rice-Spivak. So I think it'll be really fun to just, you know, compare how your Rice-Spivak is to what I remember it to be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This is a 2016.
Okay.
And yeah, so Rice-Spivak, really amazing vineyard. It's just a little bit south of Sebastopol. It's Russell Rice and Helene Spivak. So those are the owners of the vineyard. They planted the vineyard in 1999. They live on the property. And one of the really unique things about this vineyard is that there's volcanic ash in the soil. So there's gold, the soil itself is gold-ridge sandy loam, which is quite common for the area. And also, and yeah, it's a pretty
so that's like the gold that'll get on your shoes if they're black, and like orangey gold. Yeah.
But there's also volcanic ash in the soil, so it's really a great gives a great character. It's almost like gives it an earthy minerality that comes through, and I think that it's so distinctive that a lot of people can pick up Rice-Spivak.
Wow.
Yeah.
It definitely does not have the same aromatic nose. Like I'm not going to call this like strawberry or roses on the nose.
Yeah. And it's, you know, so it's a little bit older too. So the 18 vintage that we had of the Sonoma coast was to me a very fruit forward vintage. The 16 vintage to me is a little bit more earthy in general, and then a little bit older, it's starting to not have quite as much primary fruits as a younger wine would. You can see it's a little bit lighter in color as well. We had a really cool, maybe not too different in color.
Well, no, I mean, I don't have much left of the other. It's hard to compare.
We had a really cool August. So we had like 2 weeks of almost socked in fog for 2 full weeks. And then in 2016, I picked most of my vineyards the end of August, beginning of September.
So that was before, God, that was the last vintage before these horrible fires started arriving.
Yes. Sorry, my dog.
Oh, it's okay. I can't tell you how many times my little dog has interrupted Instagram lives, joined in. So I can relate. These are COVID Zoom times. We all know the drill.
Yes, sorry. We can meet him.
Hi. Oh my God. Is he a puppy? He looks like a little doll.
He's only 4 months old. So
you have a puppy dog and a baby puppy and a baby coming.
Yeah. We had already planned to get Nico before we found out we were pregnant, so we figured it was good practice.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
What a cutie. Yeah. Nico has a fan. Schwartz now is commenting on him.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, so super different profile. Also, it's, I mean, equally as like smooth and like satiny, but just totally different flavors.
Yeah. And so this is 667-115. There's also some Swan single vineyard Rice-Spivak as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's not in the Sonoma Coast blend. I typically put that only in the single.
How do you, is this just like in your vault, all the clones and the harvest dates?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's like when you spend so much time with these wines, it's like I age my Pinots for 20 months before I bottle them. And you're spending the entire growing season, and then you're almost 2 years with these wines. It's like it's just melted into your mind at that point.
Wow, 20 months. So that's probably a little bit longer than most Pinot producers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. I really like to age a little bit longer because I think that allows for the oak to really integrate and become seamless with the wine. I do think that these wines and these vineyards can age for that long in barrel. I don't think all Pinot vineyards should age that long.
Yeah.
Really just knowing your place, your vineyard and your site, and really interpreting what is the best for that. So
yeah. Great. Cool. Yeah, I was just at bottling yesterday, and it was being bottled after 16 months of aging. So I remember that number. So 20 seems, a little longer. Yeah. Yeah, this has been such a week of wine learning for me, and I have my WSET study group after this. So it's like literally 4 hours of studying wine after a work day. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
This is way more fun than my study group. I mean, the people are great, but you know, it's hard when you're like out, you've worked a whole day and then you're like trying to quiz yourself on like the regions of the left bank versus the right bank in Bordeaux.
Yeah, it is. That's intense.
Yeah. But okay, so let's tell everybody at home what we're smelling. I mean, now that I take a step back, I still do smell the red fruit. It's just
more subtle. It's not quite so fruit forward. You still get a little bit of raspberry and that soft cherry.
Cherry, maybe a little currant.
Yeah, totally.
And it definitely smells like sweeter and more like red fruit than it tastes.
Yeah, definitely has a lot of acid. It's not overly acidic, but it has structure and the tannin. Yeah,
but it does, like a lot of those florals or like the red fruits, I'm not really, I'm tasting a little bit, but they're more aromatic than they are necessarily on the palate.
Totally.
So which is, I know you're not supposed to have a favorite, but which is the one that you end up drinking the most of when you're not pregnant?
Oh man, it's impossible to have a favorite. It's a conversation all the time. I also talk with the owners of all the vineyards I work with, and it's really funny. There's a friendly competition amongst them, and I can't have a favorite.
Yeah. Okay.
It really depends on like what you're eating and like what you're feeling like, but
so since I'm celebrating Valentine's Day like the whole month, I cannot stop eating these peanut M&Ms. Literally, I probably have 20 to 40 a day.
That's
so
great.
Which do you think would pair best with a peanut M&M?
Peanut M&M, maybe the Thorn Ridge.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'll have to have another peanut M&M when we do that. Yeah, they're just so good.
Yeah, I love those too.
They're dangerous. I bought a pack and then a friend gave me another pack. So now I have 2 packs of peanut, like the big ones to get through.
The Costco size?
No. Thank God, not those. Just like the ones from the grocery store. I used to like have bowls when I worked in an office, and I'd have like bowls at my office at Bloomingdale's or whatever with candy. And then like people at work would eat them with you. But these days you're just doing everything at home.
Yeah, you have a bowl of candy. It's all to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, do you have any interesting, so you're not bottling for what, another 4 months then? Like, where are you?
Yeah, for LaRue Pinot, I am bottling that in May, later in May. I just bottled the Charles Heinz Chardonnay today, this morning.
Oh, great.
19. And then I'm bottling the 2019 H-Clop at the end of the month. And then I have a million bottlings for all of my clients in between.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So the Chardonnay you age what, 16 months versus the Pinot at 20?
Yeah. So
okay.
still long for most people for Chardonnay even. A lot of people will bottle their Chardonnays in less than 12 months. But for me, it's the same reasoning. I leave the Chardonnay on original lees as long as possible. I let it do its own thing going through malolactic fermentation. So sometimes it finishes, sometimes it doesn't. And it really just allows for really great texture and integration when you have it in barrel for that amount of time.
I bet. I have a bottle of Chardonnay that, thank you for sending me, that I can't wait to try. Yeah, Katy knows I have a weakness for Pinot and Chardonnay. So I'm curious, everyone's been very friendly, waving and everything. Do you guys have any questions? Because I don't need to do all the talking. If you have questions, we can pose them to Katy, or I can continue to do all the talking. Either way. So what was your first vintage again?
So the first year of that I worked harvest was 2005. After graduation, I worked at Testarossa. When I was working at Eberly Winery, I was working in the tasting room actually there. So I worked in the
test. I think is that a pasta one too?
No, it's they do get some fruit from the Central Coast, but they're in Los Gatos. So
okay.
Source fruit from all over, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay mostly. But yeah, it was a great first vintage. Like
no, I don't know if I know them. Well, I guess what I meant was, what was the first one you made for LaRue?
Oh, for LaRue, yes. So 2009 was my first vintage.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and LaRue is named after my great grandmother. Her name was Fiona LaRue. So she was someone who always told me I could do whatever I wanted in life. So when I decided to name my wine, I decided to name it after her. So
And how would you say the brand has grown since? I didn't realize you've been making, so you're at what, your 12th vintage this year?
I know, isn't that crazy?
So you started at like 22 or something? That's crazy.
I was 26 when I started.
Wow.
It was young. I definitely, everything fell into the right place and I jumped. You know, it was one of those things that was like the right time to just do it. And for a long time, I was working full-time at doing LaRue, but also full-time working as the associate winemaker at Cayman Wines. And I was consulting as well. So a few years I was basically working for like 80 hours a week all the time. But you know, it's one of those things, if you do what you love, it doesn't really feel like.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I don't know if I work 80 hours a week, but I mean, technically it's like every time I'm at a winery talking to the winemaker or the salespeople, I'm sort of on, so in a way I'm working, even though it's fun and I might be with friends. I don't know if my friends like it as much. Like they're like, can you stop? But oh well.
That's what I do.
At least they get to know all the great wineries to go to.
Yeah.
And usually they're my guests, so usually wineries don't make wine writers pay, so it ends up being you know, a very fun and not too expensive experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, okay, so that's the Rice-Spivak. Lovely. Now I'm very curious about this Thorn Ridge.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had it, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm also very curious about the M&M pairing.
oh yes, definitely. So yeah, Thorn Ridge is farmed by the Klopp family. So Ted Klopp, who has Klopp Ranch, and his daughter Lauren Klopp Williams. So they Ted planted the blocks that I work with. He planted in the mid '90s.
Wow.
And he got the cuttings. The original cuttings for the Pommard were from Dellinger, and he used those to plant Klopp Ranch, and then he took those cuttings to Thorn Ridge. So
oh, cool.
The original cuttings for the Pommard in this wine come from Dellinger Winery.
So I don't think I know about how long will a Pinot, or like for Pinot grapes, you have to replant it.
I mean, it depends on a lot of things, but they can live for a very long time. You know, just like any other variety, but it just depends if you end up with virus or any issue.
Okay.
Or a lot of times when you replant, it's because of virus or spacing, rootstock, not having the right rootstock. Those are more typical reasons than just like, oh, it's getting old, we need to replant it. So yeah.
Well, and I guess now, depending if, you know, people want to make room for like the machinery, if they were planted too narrow years ago or whatever it might be.
Totally. Yeah. If you like, now it's more common to plant a little bit tighter spacing, like 4x6 spacing, 4 feet by 6 feet. But you know, back, 20 years ago, maybe you didn't have a tractor that fit down that. So you planted that. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of times when people are replanting, it's for those sorts of reasons. Is that the vines are just too old.
Yeah, I feel like in Napa, I'll see like a lot of like ripped up areas that clearly they're like regrafting or whatever, but like I don't see that as much like outside of Napa, like because Cabernet has what, like a 35 to 40 year lifespan.
Yeah, and again, I think it's similar. It's like if they are doing well, like they'll definitely, the production goes down over time.
Yeah,
but the quality doesn't necessarily go down. But if you end up with problems with virus or other things, you definitely would want to replant. So,
and I think it's also interesting, like the mix of a vineyard, you know, which grapes are more profitable. I mean, we all know Pinot is like so hot and so trendy. I mean, who knows if it'll ever fade, but you know, it's like if you can get more money for that versus like, you know, a Sauv Blanc. I mean, not that Sauv Blanc and Pinot would be in the same vineyard, but you know, so I guess it's also like vineyard profitability management and you know, what you can sell for more money and what you want to make.
Definitely. And that is another reason why people will replant for trends. Maybe, you know, you get into situations where you can't sell a certain variety.
Yeah.
So to a lot of people with Merlot.
I love Merlot. I think I should do a favorite Merlot post next. I think Merlot gets a bad name just because like it's like this forgotten thing. And 2 years ago from October's Merlot month, I'll never forget that now. And I just tried a bunch and I'm like, this is like really lovely and I mean, good Merlot.
Yes.
Crappy Merlot, like I don't think I can drink a bottle that's like under $20 because they're just really bad. But I mean, that's a blanket statement. I challenge somebody to send me a good bottle, and if it's great, I'll tell you it's great. But you know, some wines, like you can have cheap entry level ones and they're okay.
Yeah.
I don't think Merlot's that category.
Merlot's tough for that, but there's a lot of red blends that are Merlot based that don't really say that on the bottle, but because Merlot has such a bad rap, they, you know, people don't put it on the label, but then if you put a red blend out there, a lot of times it does have a significant amount of Merlot in it. And
yeah, and isn't Merlot used in Bordeaux to like soften the tannins and the
yeah.
oomph of the Cab Sauv? So Merlot has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you make a Merlot?
Obviously not for LaRue, but yes, I do make, for Smith Story, we make a standalone Merlot.
Oh, beautiful.
And then for Reeve, we have some Merlot in the Libertine blend that we make.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I've had a Reeve Merlot. So speaking of Smith Story, I just want to give a shout out. That dog is so cute.
Yeah.
I think that dog is in the Winemaker dog book, which I also would like to say, my little Frenchie Ernestine, my goal is to get her in that book this year. So she's gonna have to start making more appearances on Instagram lives, but I don't own a winery, but I think I'm pretty close with how many wineries I adore and write about.
I think she'd be adopted by a winery.
I know. I just need to like find someone that'll be like, she could be our stepkid or something. Well, she even likes to go to vineyards. Like she was at Platt with me running around having the time of her life. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
I want to die and go to dog heaven because it's got to be good.
We have to get her to meet Nico soon.
Well, yeah, although I don't know if I trust her with Nico. Nico seems very delicate and she doesn't really like little dogs.
Oh. That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, so Thorn Ridge. So let's see about this pairing. I can't believe I'm pairing it with an M&M, but why not? Yeah. This is the biggest one, right? With like the most tannins.
Yeah. The naturally just has the Thorn Ridge naturally has a little bit more tannin. The vineyard's really quite steep, and it's eastern facing, so it gives a little bit of different aspect. Get a lot more morning sun. You kind of get that feeling of ripeness without it being too high in alcohol. And then that Pommard clone, I think, is just so rich. Like there's this richness.
Yeah, so we haven't even discussed alcohol, but yours are all 13. So that was 13.2. The other Rice-Spivak's 13.4. Is that like about right for like not right average for Pinot? Like Pinot's not usually super high alcohol, right?
Yeah, it can be. It just depends on the style. There's a lot of like in the bigger, more jammy Russian River fruit forward styles can be closer to 14 and a half. My wines typically for the Pinots are around 13 and a half. Sometimes they're under 13, depending on the vintage. Yeah.
So I just have to give a shout out. Katy, you'll never guess who joined us. Miss Kelsey Phelps.
Oh, Kelsey, hey.
Kelsey, you missed it. We were talking about, Katy thinks we maybe met through you. I don't know if that's true. I think I already knew Katy before meeting you, Kels. But it's all good. We all love great wines. And yes, boss ladies. Well, you'll have to tune in, Katy, next week because Kelsey and I are doing an Instagram Live on Thursday for V-Day. So I will really be dolled up for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
I think I'll wear a pink dress next week. This week is red. And yeah, I realized I was a month early because March is like Women's Month.
Yeah.
So I maybe should have held all my female winemakers for March, but I didn't really realize that till I was like looking at my content for March, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do like newsletters about all of you kick-ass female winemakers.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't know. You and I started talking about this in like November. I didn't really want to wait for March.
Yeah, that would have been a long time to wait.
Yeah. So we did get a really good question. Let me just go back to it. I got a little distracted by Kels. Is there soil diversity among your vineyards that drives significant flavor differences?
Yeah, so I think, the interesting thing about this little pocket of the Sonoma coast is that most of the soils are Goldridge sandy loam. But like I said a little bit earlier, the Rice-Spivak vineyard has volcanic ash in the soil, which makes it very unique. But the Thorn Ridge and Emmeline-Ann and Charles Heinz and H. Klopp are all pure Goldridge sandy loam. So it's kind of interesting to see that the biggest, the differences are a lot more proximity to the ocean, the age of the vines, the clones, the elevation changes are quite significant in these vineyards. And the farming is pretty consistent across the board. But yeah, it is really interesting. So you just talked about distance to the ocean, and you haven't said my favorite phrase winemakers love to say. which is what?
As the crow flies.
Crow flies. I just
So anyone that doesn't, please comment if you know what that means, guys, because I love it when I'm like visiting a winemaker or visiting a winery, a vineyard with a winemaker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're like, oh, we're really close to the ocean. They're like, it's right there. And then you can see it. And they're like, as the crow flies, we're 4 miles, which means like from point A to point B. But then since all of these vineyards are in such like unique around about like off the beaten path spots, then you have to drive like 7 miles to get there. It's definitely like a Northern California thing. Like I feel like Sonoma Coast and Anderson Valley say it a lot.
Yeah, and also it's definitely a farmer thing because I grew up saying that too.
I say it now. It's like my like anytime someone says it, it makes me smile, and I know what they mean. Like I don't have to ask anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing if we have any other new questions. Yeah. Oh, good question, Kels. What are we currently drinking? Well, so just to review the lineup, because a lot of people might have popped in and out. We started with the Sonoma Coast, which is a 2018, which is really interesting, guys, because as we talked about, it's a blend of 3 vineyards. 2 of the 3 vineyards, we're drinking the single vineyards next, which included the Spivak, 16, a little older and leathery, just like this beautiful label. And then the 16 Thorn Ridge. So would you say in general, Katy, that the single vineyards, like you want to give it a little more time to age?
Yes, definitely. I actually release them, most of the time I will release them a little bit later too. So
okay,
just about to release my 18 Thorn Ridge. I haven't released that yet.
Okay.
But yeah, we have 18 Thorn Ridge and an 18 single barrel wine we're calling Ray, named after my mom, her middle name. So that's a wine club only wine. But those are the 2 18s that we're releasing this spring, and we still have the Rice-Spivak 18 that I'm not releasing till this fall.
Okay.
So I release the wines when they are more ready to drink.
Yeah.
But they can also age. So as you can tell with these 16s, they're still have so much vibrancy.
Yeah.
So much life left in them. I think they're going to be able to go for a really long time.
And then another thing, oh my God, I just thought of the best question and then I forgot it. Hold on one sec. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So people, when you said wine club, so one of the coolest things that you told me about, which I didn't realize, people can come visit and taste with you. So will you talk about that for a minute, please?
Yeah, totally. So we host tastings at the Emmeline and Vineyard, and that's just about 10 minutes west of the town of Sebastopol. And it's just a little 3-acre vineyard. It's owned by Wayne and Nancy Honeycutt. We're not tasting our single vineyard today, but
do they own the Honeycutt winemaking facility too?
No. So originally they did have it. It was called Honeycutt Vineyard, and they got a cease and desist because they didn't realize there was someone else. So then they renamed the vineyard to Emmeline Ann, which is named after Nancy's grandmother, the owner. And so the LaRue Emmeline Ann is a tribute to the grandmas, because LaRue is named after my
great. A lot of female respect in this brand. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we host tastings out there by appointment. Right now we have just put up a really nice gazebo with a heater for the winter months, since we're all outdoors. But such a great spot because it's really close to the coast. You can pop over to Wildflower Bakery right after. It's less than a mile away.
I don't know Wait, is that the one in Occidental?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I do know Wildflower. Yeah. It's across from the spa. Of course I know the spa.
Yeah. The spa.
So I'm just going to announce it because Kelsey doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to come out and visit your vineyard and taste in the gazebo, and I'm going to bring Kelsey with me.
Yes.
Because I didn't know you did that, and I was like, I love your wines, I love you, so I want to write about that experience. So guys, if you go first, please tell me about it. Instagram story, because I hate missing out on the fun, but hopefully in the next, maybe before the baby comes, I can make it out there, or in the summer. So is the Sonoma Coast like sort of like San Francisco? Is it like rain and foggy in the summer?
Yeah, in the June can be pretty gloomy. Hopefully by then we'll be able to do indoor tastings, but even so, we will still have the gazebo out there with the Yeah,
maybe it'll be like when the baby's like 3 months. Are you planning to take maternity?
No, I'm planning to take off a couple of weeks. And then David's mom is going to come and stay with us for harvest. So
oh, great.
Try to lug the little one along with me as much as I can. And
yeah, because harvest will be what? She'll be like 3 months old?
Yeah, totally. So
yeah, she'll be a little harvest baby.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I can't wait to come visit. So I'm wondering, I think I went back to the Rice-Spivak. It's fun to sort of pop around between them. Which one are you sipping on?
I still have the Thorn Ridge. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we shared like flavors that we're smelling and tasting in here.
Yeah. So to me, I really get more like darker fruits in the Thorn Ridge, more like berry, but still, it does still have some of the red fruits, some of the strawberry, cherry notes, but really to me, it's a little bit more rustic fruits.
Yeah. And it definitely has that like barnyard, like forest floor taste to it. I just want like a piece of meat with this right now, or a red steak. Because, you know, I guess all steaks are red. I see this red and pink Valentine's Day colors. It's just, the holiday is all over the food and the wine.
Yeah. Well, if you overcook a steak, then it's not red anymore. But
I used to eat my steak like medium well, and then I slowly started inching away. And it's amazing how much more flavor there is when you can like taste a little bit of the meat.
Totally.
Yeah. So tell us like a fun fact. I know it's in my interview with you, but tell us a fun fact about you that people might not already know.
Yeah. But I can't remember what I answered in the interview. I think maybe it was about welding or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's totally what it was about. That you weld?
Yeah. My dad actually taught me how to weld when I was about 12 years old.
Wow.
I was interested and I wanted to learn. So yeah, I think that's like one of the things that people may not know about me is I definitely grew up in farming and driving four-wheelers since I was 5, driving tractors since from a really young age, and doing things like welding and building barns and doing all sorts of construction and
Very
stuff
cool.
like that.
Yeah, like what do you weld? So by the way, I'm just Googling your interview because I have my iPad here. And I thought my interview would be like at the top of Google because that's usually, and I'm so sorry, but I was behind Forbes.
Oh.
Wow, Katy, that's exciting.
I did a day in the life of Katy.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you weld? Like metal?
So when I really wanted to just learn how to weld when I was young. But my dad would let me just like play around and make different sculptures and things, and yeah, we had a whole shop out where you could kind of create whatever you wanted, and he would just let me do whatever. We made like hat racks and stuff like that.
Well, that's exactly what you answered as the answer to the question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, I asked you what your favorite restaurant is in Sonoma, and that was one of my favorites, and it's no longer there, Fremont.
Oh yeah, but they reopened, but it's just called something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been there since they reopened. I feel like it was a couple months before COVID, or I don't know. Like
yeah, well they were closed, so it's now called I'm totally blanking on the name. It's the same owners though, and so it's
okay, good.
But they were closed even just last month, but I think they reopened. So I think they're probably staffing and stuff, but yeah,
good.
It's in the same spot, and I just can't.
Oh my God, I love that spot. And it's so perfect, like on your way, like if you like, you know, stop at Anima for a wine tasting at like 10:30, 11, and then go there and then like hit up one more. We have a viewer here from Bali. That's amazing. What time is it in Bali? I did this on another Instagram live and we were like, where's everybody tuning in from? And we had like 3 continents. It was so cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I guess you or I have followers in Bali. I wonder, have you been to Bali?
I haven't. I would love to go to Bali.
It might be one of my followers because I've been twice and I've written about it quite a bit. I love Bali.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I want to make sure we didn't forget anything. Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to, you know, keep Katy on too long. I'll just be drinking and eating more M&Ms.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 9:45 in the morning in Bali. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because they're like a day ahead of us. Or no, it's 9:45 at night. I think they're 28 hours ahead.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know. Time zones are very confusing.
Yeah, it definitely gets confusing.
Yeah, well, are you working on any like new surprises besides the baby for LaRue that you want to tell us about, or any other, you know, projects you're working on that we should look out for?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned all the folks that I'm making wine with, and I'm planting a few new vineyards for Annabelle. We're planting some Pic Pool Blanc on our estate, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for LaRue, it's definitely just sticking with the vineyards that I have.
Yeah, you have a great model, so why change it?
Totally.
Would you ever consider adding sparkling for LaRue?
I haven't thought about it. I'd mixed some sparkling wine with Reeve wines from actually the Charles Heinz Vineyard and the H. Klopp Vineyard. So the two Chardonnays that I work with for LaRue, and also Kelsey, who's on. We're getting a little bit. She's getting a little bit of fruit from both of those vineyards as well. So we've been talking about once hers are out, we'll do some tastings together with her sparkling and my Chardonnay.
Oh, well, we can do an Instagram live with the three of us. I mean, there's got to be a way to have 3 screens, or we'll be done with COVID and Kelsey will visit me again, and we'll be here and you'll be there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think sparkling wine. Like, I've been to Champagne twice. Oh, hi, Nico, come join us.
He's back.
Yeah, I know these dogs are like, you can't ignore me this long.
Yeah.
There's something about sparkling wines. It just is like cheerful, and like it just always like brings the party to you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love. Champagne. It's probably one of my favorite regions, and I definitely part of that. I kind of like drinking sparkling wine so much, and I'm nervous to make too much of it for myself.
Yeah, I know. It's like a what do you call it? Occupational hazard.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. If we don't have any more questions, I mean, I guess you and I could just, shoot the shit all night, but Nico might not be happy about that. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I will be sharing this on my YouTube channel and also on my Instagram TV channel. So if you just caught the last tail end and you want to rewatch it, feel free. And one more question for you. What is your favorite champagne brand?
Oh, there's so many. I love to visit Champagne, and I love to go to like smaller producers. One of my favorites is Pierre Moncuy. I love Pierre Peters, Gimonet, Gaston Chiquet.
You really do know a lot.
There's so many.
I need to see the labels for the little guys, and then I'll remember if I've had them. I cannot remember it though, otherwise.
Yeah. And those are all the places I've visited and have like really great small families that run them, and it's just such a great experience to be able to go. I highly recommend visiting Champagne if you can. And
yeah, well, I've been to Champagne twice and I love it. I've been to the bigger houses, so my next trip will definitely be small guys.
Yeah,
but I mean the big houses are fabulous. The first maison I ever went to was Dom Perignon, which you can't really beat that. But at the same time, I think there's a totally different grower's experience, and that story, I mean, all the growers are supplying the big houses with their grapes. I just don't think people that aren't really deep in the industry sort of know like how the sourcing works in Champagne. I didn't know until recently, but it's so fun. It's like such a fun trip. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to Champagne on work, and I'm like, no, I'm really gonna drink bubbles for 5 days straight.
Drinking the whole time.
Take a lot of notes and write about it when I get home. But yeah, it's really fun work.
Yeah, that is the cool thing about going to the small producers is that like a lot of times their houses are right on their vineyards. You're able to go out into the vineyards and check out like what's happening at the time you're there as well, which I think is so cool, is just to kind of see the difference in how they farm and everything.
Do you know the Michel Gonnet family?
I don't. I know of it, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the smallest of the houses I went to last time, and like I went to their production facility, and like one of the grandparents' houses was in front, and it's funny because I hadn't heard of them till I went to Champagne, but they're on the wine list at the French Laundry, so I'm like, once again, the French Laundry knows all the great places.
Better.
But well, yeah, Spivak, that was our coincidence. So yeah, I think I will have to check with you on which small guys to go to, and you'll give me a whole list, because I think that would be, when the world reopens, that's on the top of my list.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to go back. We could go together.
With the baby? Are you going to take the baby or leave the baby at home?
I don't know. I haven't thought that far.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of Europe. Kids are like welcome everywhere. It's like you just put it in the stroller and let it sleep, and it's all good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, until they start screaming.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Katy. This was a lot of laughs, and it was so delicious.
And if people want to buy, the wines will be up for 2 more weeks. We're going to leave them up on the website.
Perfect.
So the 3-pack, a Jet Setting Fashionista 3-pack on there, but you could also buy the wines individually as well.
Perfect. And just use the code JSF for shipping. And if you forget, you can always message me, but it's been in those of you that are not on my email list, you should sign up for my email list. Just go to jsfashionista.com, and I've been promoting all of these Instagram lives weekly ahead of time, so everyone can see what's coming and see what they missed and go from there.
Yeah.
Well, bye, Nico. You're so cute.
Bye.
Bye. And thanks again, Katie. This was great. And yeah, hope I'll see you in real time sometime soon when things reopen.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was fun.
Oh wait, we got to get a quick picture together because this will be like the image for the. Okay, so can you hold up one of the bottles, please?
Oh yeah.
It's really hard for me to hold the bottle and screenshot. Like, let's see. I'm gonna try, but okay. Oh, it's like, yeah. Oh, that's what I mean. Okay, cheese. One more. Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
All right, have a great night, Katie.
Yeah, you as well.
Thanks
Bye.
again.